I see some people steer away from programming for some of these reasons. In this video, I'll be explaining some simple misconceptions in programming. Stick to the end of the video to have your questions answered. First of all, let's start with something that really scares people away from programming, the syntax. You don't need to memorize every single syntax and know every single language. It's the opposite, as it is recommended to learn one language at a time to get the most out of that, whether it's HTML, CSS, or even C Sharp. When it comes to syntax, first understand the concept, like how and when we use loops or functions. Doing this gives you an understanding of what the language is possible of. Actually knowing the syntax off head comes with muscle memory, and that is why the best way to learn is actually not to learn, but to create. Make small projects or big projects, silly or not. If it includes the concepts, it's good enough. An example would be a number guesser. This includes many concepts from Python or any language you're using. And you could also make a small section of a website like a nav bar, which is for HTML and CSS. But here comes another misconception, that you don't need to spend time to learn these concepts and syntaxes. This contradicts the first mistake, but if you think about it, you need to learn what's possible with the language before making a project. It will make the process much easier, so there must be a balance with time when learning and creating. The third misconception I see is that people believe they must start with many hours to effectively program. This is not only for programming but perhaps other skills. I mentioned in my video on how developers lose motivation that doing this will burn you out. If you want to know what that is, I recommend watching that video after this one, obviously. However, a solution to this would be start small, perhaps 30 minutes a day, to incorporate this to your daily life. Once you're comfortable with 30 minutes, feel free to increment that to maybe 45 minutes or 60 minutes. I commonly hear that people learn a language because someone else who recommended it. This is a huge mistake. Learning a language should be because it is a tool for your goal. It should not be your goal to learn the tool. For example, if your goal is to do robotics, then perhaps learn Python or C++. Makes sense? But learning HTML does not. Also, beginners tend to learn Python as other people say it's easy and best to start with. This is the wrong way of thinking of it, as you should learn the best language for your goal. So when starting out, decide what field to do and research which language is best, easiest or most useful for that field. Some people say learning software developers will be well paying and an excellent career choice. This is true for some. However, there are places where jobs pay very little. It's really hard to stand out, and some are fallout scams. This is an even more painful discovery when developers figure out this after years of learning to program. So I would highly urge you to do your research on the field you want to go for and see how software development jobs do on things like wage, barrier to entry, work life, and other developer stories for your country. Final misconception is that people believe they need to master or be amazing at their field to start looking for a job. This is wrong, as most of learning programming comes from working alongside with other people. So if you have value to give to a client, such as being able to make full websites, good design or not, then make sure to apply for jobs. Also, applying for jobs are not the only options too. Freelance is a great way to start a business for some fields. Doing this gives you a business-based skill such as negotiation and managing your time. I may make a freelance video in the future, but if I do, make sure to watch out for it. If you found this video remotely helpful, make sure to subscribe below and like too. If you if you would really it will really help me out, and it'll show me that I've done my job correctly. And if you got any questions, do comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.